Hey guys, I finally made it back. I was beginning to wonder if I was going to get back to do the finish up the Brahman deal. Um, the Brahman breed is one that I'm kind of personal to. We were talking about different strands a little bit ago. I actually used to raise them a number of years ago. My dad and I did, and we showed them all over the country. And believe it or not, we actually raised the national champion Brahman bull in 1994. So I no longer have those, but they're still something that I kind of hold dear. Um, there are lots of different strands, and we'll kind of pick up where I kind of stopped earlier with the Brahman breed and they just they're a breed that is known for their extreme heat tolerance. The breeds that are most common here in the United States are basically a composite that are known as gray Brahmin as well as red Brahmin. Now those will have a lot of Indo Brazil strands put in them. Naylor, the red Brahmin will have a lot of gear put in them, but they basically combine these different strands of Brahmin cattle to produce what we see in the United States as American Reds and American Grays. The Brahman breed itself is a very large breed, and they bulls can easily hit this 2,200 pounds. And in the show world, I've seen some that were up there around 2,800 pounds. The cows, that's a pretty common weight there. A Brahman bred to Brahman is known for its calving ease. However, once we cross those, we talked a little bit about hybrid vigor, and we do see some bigger calves when we breed them. For example, a Brahman bull to a Hereford. If a Hereford is typically having a 75-pound calf, we may end up with an 82-pound calf when we breed a Brahman. So that hybrid vigor also relates to the calving weight. And so most of the time we don't put a Brahman bull over a set of heifers. We'll typically utilize those over some mature cows to avoid some of those problems. So they're bred but primarily for their maternal traits from what they do produce. The Brahman crossbred mama is one of the best cows in the world, and especially you come back and put something black, like an Angus back over them, and the carcass traits are drastically improved then as well. So, as a whole, the breed has had some carcass issues. Not typically, they've had some tenderness issues. And they've not been known for their marbling. The breed itself worked on that, and they have improved it considerably. So Brangus is another one of those. Just as got this BRA in front of it and Angus in the back. Basically, they're a cross between a Brahmin and an Angus. They are 3/8 Brahmin, as we mentioned earlier. That a Brahmin will always be the 3/8 side, and the 5/8 will be the Angus. So, um, they here again, they're a heat tolerant breed. They're disease resistant. They've basically tried to improve some carcass traits on the Brahmin by adding some Angus into them, and that's where we got our Brangus. And a lot of people will use them from a breeding standpoint. Maybe put them over a set of English cattle like Herefords, and you commonly make what is sometimes called an Okie 100, which they're half Angus, a quarter Hereford, and a quarter Brahmin. So cows are very similar, and they're in size to 1100 to 12. We'll see our bulls. As we've said before, the Angus is a little bit smaller breed, so we do bring it down just a little bit. But here again, they're a breed that can be utilized a lot to produce heifers, as well as we can still utilize them some depending on how we do it for a terminal cross. Bronve. Is a breed that I haven't, as far as holding you accountable to, their physical characteristics is one of the biggest things and downfalls truly to them. They're a breed that does have some beef in them. They're pretty strong top line individuals, have some depth of body. They've got this white mustache is an identifying characteristics that kind of goes back to the American Brown Swiss because they do have a little bit of dairy breed in them. And that color, because it does have some dairy color to them, can sometimes really hurt the kids when they go across the scales as people kind of try to correlate them to be having some dairy or dairy look to them, and they may not sell as well as they would otherwise. So the Bronve breed as a whole hasn't just really taken off here in the United States. Here again, they got this mousy brown color, and they got a white mustache. Is kind of a defining characteristic of the breed. Um, This is a Bronve cow, and they can be 1,200 to 1,500 pounds, which is a very large individuals. And that size is also something that is, as they've gotten to be a little bit too big in the commercial cattle industry, has been a little bit of a downfall to them, having a major impact. Charolais, a breed that is considered a terminal cross. We're not typically going to keep a lot of Charolais cross heifers most of the time. We're going to utilize those bulls to add pounds to our weaning weights. We're going to use them to, as well as those yearling weights. They are bulls or cattle that are known for extreme growth, and they're not necessarily known for their marbling in the meat, but they're typically their yield grades are pretty good from the standpoint of they don't pack a whole lot of fat on their carcasses, and they grow very, very rapidly. So lots of times we see people cross them with an Angus and get these smoky calves, and that puts some of those carcass characteristics back into those calves, as well as put some growth into an Angus by utilizing a Charolais over those. So let's see here. They are a breed that sometimes is known to have some calving difficulties. They tend to have some big shoulders, just really big calves at birth. So you're not a breed that we would typically utilize on a set of heifers to raise calves. So this breed here is a Chiania. Chianias are still prevalent in the show industry. However, we do not see them in this purebred form. The keys that are shown today are black, and they've crossed them with some Angus and some Maine, and really kind of melted that percentage of Chiania way down. The Chiania breed as a whole, as a purebred, is a very crazy individual. They're very tall, very gangly looking animals that have tremendous growth, but they don't have a lot of body to them. And they've never really taken off in the commercial industry. They've kind of been done fairly decent in the show world, but they basically, like I said, most of the show animals that show as a key today probably are lucky if they're an eighth key at most. They're just they've had to dwarf that down and try to put some body back into it. Here you can see, bulls weighing as much as 3,000 pounds. That's some really big individuals out there. And when you start getting cows that are approaching that kind of weights and such as that, it's just not really functional from the commercial cattleman standpoint. Galloways, I won't hold you accountable to. Gelbrays, I won't either. Gelbvieh, I'm moving a little fast or something here. Well, not sure what just happened. Sometimes you just got to punt. All right. Here's where we're back at it. I don't know what exactly happened with the computers. It is what it is. All right, Herefords. Herefords are not necessarily a breed that is known for their carcass characteristics. They're a breed that typically the yield grades on purebred Herefords are not really good. They tend to pack on a lot of fat, but they don't necessarily tend to marble extremely well. So they're utilized a little more in a crossbreeding standpoint. The cows are not necessarily known to be great milkers. But if for whatever reason, when we cross them, for example, to a Brahman and that hybrid vigor kicks in, that half Hereford or 3/8 Brahman and 5/8 Hereford calf that is produced, it does extremely well in some of these harsh climates. They make tremendous mama cows and are just a very, very functional animal in the commercial industry. Even here in Oklahoma, people just flock to those Brayford type calves when they're found. But a purebred Hereford is not the most desirable animal out there that in the industry. There, the purebred Hereford is supposed to have a feather neck, white feather neck. You can't see that real well. It has this white face. Lots of times they'll have white that carries down in the front of their neck. Has some white in the flank, as you can see here. But other than that, they'll have a red body and go from there. So they did originate from England, as this does mention here, and there is a pole derivative that we will talk about here in a little bit. Here's the weights: 1,200 to 1,800 pounds. Here again, they're crossed with Angus, crossed with Brahmins to make to improve the actual individual. So, Limousin is a breed that at one point in time was used quite a lot in the commercial industry. The problem was they really had some temperament issues, and they weren't known for their marbling, but they have tremendous carcass characteristics from the standpoint of yield grades. They do. They're very muscular individuals to the point sometimes they're referred to as double muscle. They'll have. They don't necessarily grade well from a standpoint of, like I said, marbling, but yield grades are really, really good on these. So, sometimes when we're marketing them, if there's a really narrow spread between select and choice, just due to the sheer number of pounds that they put on a carcass, these people can come out ahead in these Limousin cross calves. So, let's see here. What did I forget? We talked cutability being really good, and they're very heavy muscle. Okay. Weights, 2,200 on the bulls, 1,400. But here again, they're very high cutability or really great yield grades. Maine Anjou is another breed that we see utilized in the show industry more so than anything. We don't see a whole lot of people buying Maine Anjou bulls for crossbreeding, but in the show industry, these manes are shown a lot. This isn't the color they are today. This is their traditional color. They are more black and white, or predominantly just straight black anymore. As so many breeds, we talked about the Certified Angus Beef program. If they've got a black derivative, remember this allows those to take part into that Certified Angus Beef program. So they are considered a terminal sire breed. Their maternal traits, they tend to be kind of big fronted sometimes. And so their calving ease isn't the best in the world. But, if we're going to use them over a set of cows, they can be some pretty decent bulls to utilize and put some pounds in our calf crop. Here's the weights: 1,400 to 1,600 on 1,600 on cows, 2,000 to 2,500 on bulls. Here again, we're getting a little big for the commercial cattleman. They did come from France, have some dual-purpose characteristics, but once again, if we're not necessarily a breed that we utilize on a set of heifers. We do not have many of the in the United States or the Murray Greys. Don't see the Piedmontese a whole lot. Pinzgars, Polled Hereford. Basically, everything we said about the Horned Hereford holds true to the Polled Hereford, except these do not have horns. And just as the poll term refers to, is the hornless. And but color characteristics, the only thing I will say on the polled, they do tend to not be quite as thick made as the horn. That is one thing that is give up a little bit when you go to that polled gene. But here again, they're poor milkers. They're mainly used in a crossbreed setting with either cross them with an Angus or a Brahmin to try to improve some characteristics. So, Red Angus is a mutant gene basically off of the Black Angus breed, which turns them red. Outside of that, they have the same carcass characteristics, marbling characteristics, mothering characteristic as the Black Angus. Are they a part of the Certified Angus Beef program? Nope. The Black Angus Association, because they're red, they do not allow them to have that. They do have their own marketing strategy that they utilize, but it has not been near as successful as the Black Angus program has. But here again, they're high marbling cattle, good mothering ability, not the largest frame, do not produce the heaviest calves at weaning weight. Size, they are a little smaller frame kind of cattle than a lot of the cattle we've talked about. Most of them are on that in the commercial industry, more below that 1,000 pounds. Red Brangus is we talked about the Black Brangus earlier. Only difference is they've used a Red Angus for the Angus side and then bred it to a Brahmin. Here again, their use is exactly as the other Brangus cattle are out there. So the difference is their color. All right, I'll stop.